90-Day Fiancé. Kimberly Menzies returns to a regular job, says she's grateful for another opportunity. Kimberly Menzies made headlines in the newest season of 90-Day Fiancé, The Single Life. She opened up about her past and reunited with her adopted son. Now, she is sharing details about her life outside of reality TV and discussing her job. Kimberly interacted with fans on her social media via a Q&A session. She answered many interesting questions. Many of them included questions about her daughter and more details about her new beau. So, what is this new job she mentioned in her Instagram story? Keep reading to know all about Kimberly's work. 90-Day Fiancé. Kim has a new English beau. In the mid-season trailer of 90-Day Fiancé, The Single Life, Kimberly travels to the UK to meet her new man. Kim reveals that her new date is from Derbyshire, UK. Kim had teased an upcoming international trip, and she traveled to the UK to meet this man. His name is Wayne, and the two went on a date sightseeing in the trailer. They clicked selfies and even shared a kiss. At the end, Kim confessed she feels Wayne could be the one for her. Kim's new beau reassures fans who thought her family stuff had sidetracked the show's focus. The reality star's storyline focused on Larry reuniting with her. Moreover, she also wants to look for her daughter, whom she had given up for adoption. Fans are also glad that her storyline can move alongside her romance and isn't restricted to family reunions. 90-Day Fiancé, Kim answers job questions. Did she get a new job? Kimberly Menzies answered all Q&A questions from fans in a recent Instagram story. A 90-Day Fiancé fan asked whether Kim has a typical job, meaning whether she earns income from other sources. Kim answered the question honestly. She said that she has a full-time job. The reality star also stated that she was rehired for the same spa job, in the same position. She quit in the past because she knew that the airing of The Single Life would affect her mentally. Additionally, she is grateful that her company hired her after the short hiatus. Kim admitted that carrying that secret wasn't easy. She said she had been holding it in for 35 years, and it weighed heavily on her. Her mother and sister were the only ones who knew about it. Since they passed away, Kimberly felt the weight of the secret crashing on her. She constantly feared someone would dig it up and use it to hurt her. She also shared that opening up wasn't just about telling the truth, but was about healing. While she regrets how she handled telling Jamal, their relationship is now in a better place. Now she has reunited with the adopted son Larry, who found her through an ancestry website. She now has Larry's family to grow in love, and is also a grandmother to two. Kim said she feels lighter, happier, and more at peace. After years of carrying such a big secret, she's finally able to live openly, and that freedom means everything to her. For more 90-Day Fiancé updates, 90-Day Fiancé, Kim breaks silence on giving up her first child. The 30-year secret explained. Kimberly Menzies recently shared details about her past. In The Single Life, she shocked her son Jamal and the fandom by revealing that she has a son, Larry. Kim revealed she gave up Larry for adoption a long time back. Now, she is speaking her truth and explaining why she took the action. Kimberly Menzies' story resonated with the fandom. Kim and son Jamal are the mother-son duo whom fans love. Now, with Larry in the picture, there are so many questions in mind. Why did she give up her son? What's the reason for reconnecting after all these years? Keep reading to know what Kimberly has to say. 90-Day Fiancé. Fans think Jamal is broke, not holding back on the judgment. Recently, the 30-year-old Jamal, son of Kimberly Menzies, gained attention on Reddit. The 90-Day Fiancé fandom discussed how Jamal appeared on The Single Life and raided his mother's fridge. He took back with him a pack of Diet Coke. Now, the internet is flaming him for going shopping in his mother's kitchen instead of buying groceries himself. One speculation led to another, and Redditors speculated that Jamal may not earn enough. Fans didn't stop with the speculation there. They thought he acted like a 16-year-old who could not afford to buy his own groceries. The OP captioned the post, saying maybe his Bad Boys videos do not generate enough revenue. Another Redditor commented, "I wouldn't have a problem with him shopping in his mom's kitchen if it was just something that happened on a rare occasion. But it seems like he makes a habit of this. This is why fans think Jamal is not earning enough to buy his own groceries." 90-Day Fiancé. Why Kimberly Menzies gave up her first child for adoption. Kimberly recently shocked fans with her long-kept secret. The 90-Day Fiancé star had a son, Larry, whom she had given up for adoption 3 decades ago. Now, Larry has reached out, and the two have connected amicably. She also posted a heartfelt photo with a sweet message. She introduced her son Larry to the world. The 55-year-old The Single Life star also revealed why she had given Larry up for adoption. Kimberly revealed that she became pregnant at 21 while planning to start her military career. At the time, she wasn't emotionally or mentally ready to be a mom. Things got even harder when the baby's father pushed her to have an abortion. Kim also revealed he wasn't faithful during their years together. She chose not to abort, but to give birth to Larry. Later, she made the difficult decision to place him for adoption. Fans think she is brave to reveal all this after this long. One wrote, "Real transparency, that's tough. Kim is extremely brave. He looks just like her, same smile, mouth." However, another commented, "Wishing all of them peace. Such a heavy secret to carry." Other fans showed support that Kim was strong enough to put her children up for adoption and let them have a better life than she could provide. For more 90-Day Fiancé updates, 90-Day The Single Life, what happens when a secret someone has carried for more than 3 decades finally comes to light? What if one emotional confession changes the way an entire family understands its own history? And what happens when the people closest to you must suddenly process a truth they never expected to hear? For years, viewers have known Kim Menzies as one of the most outspoken personalities in the 90-Day Fiancé franchise. Whether she was chasing love across continents, standing up for herself during difficult relationships, or supporting her son Jamal, fans believed they understood her story. She appeared open about her life, her heartbreaks, and her struggles. But according to Kim, there was one chapter she had never shared publicly. During an emotional moment on 90-Day The Single Life, Kim revealed that she had placed 2 children for adoption more than 30 years ago, a decision she says she made while she was very young, beginning her military career and feeling completely unprepared to raise children on her own. She explained that she had carried this secret for decades before finally deciding she could no longer keep it hidden. For viewers, the revelation was shocking, not because adoption itself is uncommon, not because people cannot make impossible decisions when facing difficult circumstances, but because Kim had never publicly spoken about this part of her life before. Even more surprising was the fact that Jamal himself had not known the full story for most of his life. That revelation immediately transformed what many viewers thought was simply another dating season into something much more personal. Instead of focusing only on romance, cameras suddenly captured a family trying to navigate decades of unanswered questions. Kim described carrying the emotional weight of those decisions for more than 30 years. She explained that at the time, she believed she simply wasn't emotionally or financially prepared to become a single mother. According to her, she was trying to build her future while serving in the military, and she felt she had no support system that could help her raise a child alone. Those words immediately sparked conversations among viewers. Some expressed compassion. Others admitted they couldn't imagine making such a difficult decision. Many simply recognized how painful it must have been to carry that secret for so long, but perhaps the most emotional part of the story wasn't Kim's confession itself. It was watching how Jamal reacted. Throughout the years, fans have often seen Jamal supporting his mother through relationship struggles and public criticism. Their close relationship has become one of the defining family dynamics within the franchise. That is exactly why this revelation felt so significant. Jamal wasn't learning about a distant relative. He was learning that his family history was much larger than he had believed. Kim explained that she had kept the information private because she feared how it might affect him emotionally. She believed revealing everything while he was younger could be overwhelming, and as time passed, the conversation became increasingly difficult to begin. Anyone who has ever postponed an uncomfortable conversation understands how silence can grow heavier over time. The longer a secret remains hidden, the more complicated revealing it becomes. Years turn into decades. Questions become harder to answer. And eventually, the fear of saying something becomes greater than the secret itself. Kim admitted that carrying those emotions became exhausting. According to later interviews, she described finally telling her story as feeling free after keeping those secrets for so many years. For viewers, that honesty created one of the most emotional moments the franchise has shown in recent seasons. Reality television often focuses on arguments, dramatic confrontations, or unexpected breakups. This storyline felt different. Instead of explosive conflict, audiences watched a mother confronting her own past. Instead of gossip, viewers witnessed vulnerability. Instead of blaming others, Kim spoke openly about decisions she said were made during one of the most difficult periods of her life. Still, that honesty did not erase the emotional impact on Jamal. Reports surrounding the episode indicate that he struggled with learning about siblings he had never fully known about, and expressed frustration that such important family history had remained hidden for so many years. That reaction resonated with many viewers. Some people understood Kim's reasons. Others empathized with Jamal's feelings. Many believed both perspectives could exist at the same time. A parent can regret difficult decisions while still believing they acted with the best intentions available at the time. A child can also feel hurt after discovering that significant parts of family history were kept from them. Neither emotion automatically cancels the other. As the episode unfolded, audiences realized this wasn't simply about adoption, it was about trust, communication, timing, and the complicated ways families process painful history. Questions quickly spread across social media. Would Jamal eventually accept everything his mother had shared? Would he want to build relationships with his biological siblings? How would Kim navigate reconnecting with children she hadn't raised? And perhaps most importantly, could this family move forward together after decades of silence? Those questions became central to the story, leaving viewers eager to see how the emotional journey would continue. As Kim Menzies continued opening up about one of the most personal chapters of her life, the conversation shifted from the past to the present. The secret had finally been revealed, but that did not mean the emotional journey was over. In many ways, it was only beginning. For more than 30 years, Kim had carried memories that very few people knew existed. She explained that there were moments throughout her life when she considered telling the truth, but every time she thought about having that conversation, fear took over. She worried about how people would judge her. She worried about whether her children would understand the decisions she made decades earlier. Most of all, she worried about hurting Jamal, the son she had raised and shared such a close bond with. According to Kim, keeping the secret became something that felt almost normal over time. She built a new life, became a mother again, established her career, and eventually entered the public eye through the 90-Day Fiancé franchise. Yet even as millions of viewers watched different chapters of her life unfold, there was always one part of her story that remained hidden. She later said that carrying those emotions for so many years became emotionally exhausting, and revealing the truth ultimately brought her a sense of relief and freedom. Reports following the episode noted that she described finally speaking publicly as a huge emotional weight being lifted from her shoulders. For Jamal, however, relief was not the first emotion that came to mind. Learning that he had biological siblings he had never really known about forced him to reconsider much of what he believed about his family's history. While he expressed love for his mother, he also admitted that processing such a significant revelation was not easy. Discovering that something this important had remained hidden for so many years naturally raised questions. Why hadn't she told him sooner? What else didn't he know? Could things have been different if the conversation had happened years earlier? These questions reflected the complicated emotions many people experience when long-held family secrets finally come to light. It wasn't necessarily about blaming anyone. Instead, it was about trying to understand why silence had lasted for so long. Kim acknowledged that there was never a perfect time to reveal the truth. Every year that passed made the conversation feel even more difficult. She explained that she feared the consequences of reopening painful memories, not only for herself, but for everyone involved. Looking back, she admitted that waiting so long only made the situation more emotionally complicated. As viewers watched mother and son navigate these conversations, many praised the honesty shown on screen. Instead of avoiding uncomfortable topics, both Kim and Jamal appeared willing to express their feelings openly, even when those conversations were difficult. That honesty became one of the most talked about aspects of the season. The revelation also encouraged broader discussions among fans about adoption. Many viewers shared personal experiences, explaining that adoption often involves complicated emotions for everyone involved: the birth parents, the adoptive families, and the children themselves. While every story is different, many people recognize that decisions made under difficult circumstances can carry emotional consequences for decades. Kim never suggested that her decision had been easy. On the contrary, she described it as one of the hardest choices she had ever faced. She explained that, at the time, she genuinely believed adoption would provide opportunities she could not offer because of her situation. Although she later wondered how life might have been different, she emphasized that her decision came from believing it was the best option she had at that moment. That perspective resonated with many viewers, while others focused more on Jamal's emotional response. Social media quickly filled with discussions about whether children deserve to know their full family history earlier in life. Some believed complete honesty should always come first, while others argued that parents sometimes delay difficult conversations out of love and fear rather than dishonesty. The episode did not provide simple answers. Instead, it presented a family working through complex emotions in real time. Throughout the conversation, Jamal appeared determined to understand his mother's perspective, even if he struggled with the timing of the revelation. Rather than allowing anger to completely define his response, he listened carefully as Kim explained the circumstances surrounding her decisions decades earlier. That willingness to communicate became one of the strongest themes of the episode. Families are rarely perfect. Everyone carries experiences they wish they could change. Sometimes forgiveness takes time. Sometimes understanding develops only after hearing the full story. For Kim, finally speaking openly meant she no longer had to carry the burden alone. For Jamal, hearing the truth marked the beginning of a new chapter, one in which he could slowly process information that had changed his understanding of his own family. As the episode continued, viewers were left wondering what would happen next. Would this revelation ultimately strengthen the bond between Kim and Jamal? Would the family find healing after years of silence? And could opening old wounds eventually lead to new opportunities for connection? One thing had become clear. The story was no longer just about a secret from the past. It had become a story about honesty, healing, forgiveness, and the possibility of rebuilding relationships after decades of unanswered questions. As the emotional conversations continued, one thing became increasingly clear. Kim Menzies wasn't simply looking for forgiveness, she was looking for peace. For decades, she had lived with memories that rarely left her mind. Every birthday, every Mother's Day, and every milestone served as a reminder of two children she had once held but had not raised. Even as life moved forward, those emotions never completely disappeared. Now, after finally sharing her story publicly, Kim faced a new reality. Instead of carrying the burden alone, she was beginning to rebuild relationships that once seemed impossible. One of the biggest turning points came when her son Larry, whom she had placed for adoption, reached out and began building a relationship with her. Their reunion became an emotional milestone, allowing both mother and son to start getting to know each other after more than 3 decades apart. Kim later shared that their relationship has continued to grow stronger over time and that she remains grateful for the opportunity to reconnect. For Kim, that reunion represented something she had never expected would happen. There was no way to recover the lost years, no way to relive birthdays, school graduations, holidays, or family celebrations that had already passed, but there was still an opportunity to create new memories. That realization appeared to give Kim hope. She acknowledged that healing doesn't erase the past. Instead, healing allows people to move forward while accepting what cannot be changed. At the same time, Jamal continued navigating his own emotions. Throughout the season, viewers watched him wrestle with feelings of shock, sadness, confusion, and ultimately understanding. Learning that he had siblings he never knew existed challenged his view of his family's history, but it also opened the possibility of expanding his family in ways he had never imagined. Rather than allowing anger to permanently define his relationship with his mother, Jamal gradually focused on listening and trying to understand the circumstances she had faced decades earlier. That didn't mean every question had been answered. It didn't mean every hurt feeling disappeared overnight. But it showed that difficult conversations can sometimes strengthen relationships instead of destroying them. Many fans praised Jamal for approaching the situation with honesty while also showing compassion toward his mother's experiences. Others admired Kim for accepting responsibility for the pain caused by years of silence rather than trying to avoid difficult questions. The story also sparked widespread discussion among viewers about adoption, family secrets, and second chances. Across social media, many people shared their own personal experiences, some as adoptees, some as birth parents, and others as family members who had discovered hidden relatives later in life. While opinions differed, many agreed that the episode encouraged meaningful conversations about topics that are rarely discussed so openly. For Kim, speaking publicly was never about rewriting history. It was about telling the truth. She acknowledged that she could not change the choices she made decades ago, but she hoped honesty would create opportunities for healing moving forward. In interviews after the episode aired, Kim explained that revealing her story made her feel finally free. She described carrying guilt and emotional pain for years before deciding that openness was healthier than continuing to hide such an important part of her life. That statement resonated with many viewers. Sometimes, the hardest conversations are also the most necessary. Silence may feel safer in the moment, but over time it can create even greater distance between the people who care about each other. By finally telling the truth, Kim gave her family the opportunity to move forward together instead of remaining separated by unanswered questions. Whether every relationship continues to grow remains a personal journey for those involved. Family healing rarely happens overnight. Trust takes time. Understanding takes patience. Forgiveness often comes one conversation at a time. Yet this story reminded viewers that even after decades apart, people can still choose connection over resentment, honesty over silence, and hope over regret. For years, audiences knew Kim Menzies as a reality television personality searching for love. But this chapter revealed something much deeper. It wasn't simply about dating. It wasn't about television drama. It was about motherhood, regret, courage, and the difficult decision to tell the truth after more than 30 years. As the season came to a close, one message stood above everything else. Sometimes the most life-changing journey isn't finding a new relationship. Sometimes it's finding the courage to face your past, rebuild broken connections, and embrace the family story you were finally ready to tell. What happens when a reunion that seemed impossible finally becomes reality? What if a decision made more than 30 years ago leads to an emotional connection that changes two lives forever? And what does it feel like to meet a son you've thought about for decades, but never had the chance to truly know? For years, fans have followed Kim Menzies through the ups and downs of her journey in the 90-Day Fiancé universe. Viewers watched her search for love, experience heartbreak, and build a close relationship with her son, Jamal. But behind the scenes, Kim was carrying a deeply personal chapter of her life that few people knew about. After recently revealing that she had placed 2 children for adoption more than 30 years ago, Kim began sharing another remarkable part of that story: her growing relationship with one of those children, her son Larry. Rather than focusing on regret alone, Kim described this new chapter as one filled with hope, healing, and gratitude. According to Kim, reconnecting with Larry has been one of the greatest blessings of her life. She has spoken warmly about the bond they are building, describing him as an amazing person, and expressing how thankful she is that life eventually brought them together again. For many viewers, hearing those words was incredibly emotional. Adoption stories often involve years of unanswered questions, uncertainty, and hope. Every family's experience is unique, and reunions can unfold in many different ways. Some never happen at all. Others happen unexpectedly after decades apart. In Kim's case, she never stopped thinking about the children she placed for adoption. Even as her life moved forward, raising Jamal, serving in the military, building her career, and eventually appearing on reality television, those memories remained part of her life. She has explained that the decision to place her children for adoption came during a period when she believed she could not provide the stability they deserved. She was young, facing enormous responsibilities, and believed adoption would offer them opportunities she simply could not provide at the time. Although that decision remained one of the hardest she had ever made, she hoped it would give her children a brighter future. Years passed, then decades. Life changed in countless ways. Yet one question quietly remained in her heart. Would she ever meet them again? For a long time, she didn't know the answer. Many birth parents who choose adoption describe living with similar uncertainty. They often wonder where their children are, whether they are healthy, whether they are happy, and whether they ever think about the biological family they never truly knew. Kim has indicated that those thoughts never completely disappeared. Then, something extraordinary happened. After more than 3 decades, she finally had the opportunity to reconnect with Larry. That first contact represented far more than simply meeting someone new. It meant meeting a son she had imagined for years, someone whose childhood she had missed, someone whose birthdays she had not celebrated, someone whose milestones she had only wondered about from a distance. Naturally, emotions were overwhelming. Kim has spoken about feeling nervous before reconnecting. She didn't know how Larry would feel. Would he have questions? Would he have anger? Would he even want a relationship? Those uncertainties made the reunion emotionally complex. At the same time, Larry also faced his own emotions. Meeting a biological parent after decades apart is never a simple experience. There are expectations, curiosity, excitement, sometimes fear, sometimes hesitation. And sometimes all of those emotions happen at once. Fortunately, according to Kim, their relationship developed naturally. Instead of trying to force years of lost time into a single conversation, they focused on simply getting to know each other. One conversation became another. One visit led to another. Slowly, trust began to grow. Kim later described Larry as an incredible person whose kindness immediately stood out. She expressed admiration not only for the man he had become, but also for the life he had built. Rather than dwelling on everything they had missed, Kim chose to celebrate everything they still had the chance to experience together. That perspective resonated with many viewers. After all, while no one can change the past, people can decide how they move forward. The reunion also highlighted another important reality. Family is not always defined solely by the years spent together. Sometimes relationships begin much later in life. Sometimes connections survive despite decades of separation. Sometimes forgiveness creates opportunities that once seemed impossible. As news of Kim's reunion spread among 90 Day the Single Life fans, many expressed support for both mother and son. Some viewers shared personal stories of adoption within their own families. Others praised Kim's willingness to speak openly about a topic that many people still find difficult to discuss publicly. Her honesty encouraged conversations about adoption, second chances, and emotional healing. It also reminded viewers that behind every reality, television personality is a real person with experiences that cameras may never fully capture. For Kim, this wasn't about creating dramatic television. It was about sharing one of the most meaningful moments of her life, a reunion she never expected, a son she never stopped thinking about, and a relationship that, despite beginning decades later than either of them might have imagined, was finally getting the chance to grow. But as emotional as the reunion was, it also raised new questions. How did Jamal react to seeing his family expand? What was Larry's perspective after finally reconnecting with his biological mother? And how would this unexpected second chance reshape Kim's life moving forward? Those questions would become the heart of the next chapter.